Hi, I'm Brett Larkin. I post new yoga videos to YouTube every single week, and I'm now posting yoga classes for total yoga beginners every Tuesday. So if you're new to yoga or interested in learning, make sure to like and hit subscribe. This is a really difficult pose. I don't even know how to describe. I think because people think, well, 1 should be easier than 2, right? Like warrior 1 should be easier than warrior 2. Not true, my friends, not true at all. So warrior 1, I'll show and then you can get into it. We want to have our feet hip width apart. And this is hard because different yoga traditions say different things about where the feet should be in warrior 1. But if you're a beginner, I'm going to suggest the feet hip width apart. So that means that your stance, when you look down at your feet, you're always thinking of your feet being on a railroad track as opposed to a tightrope.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So railroad track, not tightrope. And the reason is because you have a lot more stability and are better able to balance when your feet are hip width apart instead of, on this tightrope. So start with the feet hip width apart. And then again, we want the feet about a leg's distance apart from one another. Similar to warrior 2, right? We want that 1 leg's distance when we look down at the mat. And then the back foot, in warrior 2, it was like, okay, if the foot was parallel to the back edge of the mat, like the pinky toe side. With warrior 1, we really want to go for that 45-degree shape. So your feet are 45 degrees pointing towards the top, in this case, left corner of the mat. Hands to hips, and this is the part that's hard. This is why warrior 1 is hard, is your hips, we don't want them facing the side edge of the mat. We want your hips facing the front of the mat. And this is a place where, Murray, actually you have an advantage over me, because for me as a childbearing woman who gave birth recently, my hips are wider.
Yep.
And it's harder for me to square my hips towards the front of the room. You, with a male pelvis, your hips are a little bit narrower naturally, just anatomically. So it actually might be easier for you to be in this hips facing forward position than it is for me. Not always, but sometimes I find that when I work with students. So then you want to bend your knee. Again, we're aiming for a 90-degree angle, but any bend is good. And we want the knee tracking once again over the second toe. So not dipping in and not falling out to the side, just over the second toe. Hands to hips, navel engaged, belly engaged, ribs knit in. And then if we feel stable, then maybe we lift the arms. Another thing I see, right? Yeah. People lift the arms and they have that shoulder elevation, right? So you can always just take cactus arms, I call it, keeping the elbows wide.
Right.
And then you'll take your hands to your hips, slowly straighten the leg, and be very careful to come on out of it. So let's see what it looks like in a beginner body.
Let's give it a try.
Yeah, let's do it.
So start.
Feet hip width apart, yep.
Hip width apart to start with.
Yep, and then you just navigate forward and back. Yep. This looks really good. So he has his back foot at 45 degrees, which is great. I could say you could maybe even take it a tiny bit wider. Yeah, and good job turning it in. So by wider, I mean just like, yeah, there you go, perfect.
Have that there.
Yep, put your hands on your hips. And sure enough,
that's not hard for me.
For him, that's not hard. So interesting. So, if you've had a child, your hips are very mobile and it can be hard to square your hips. It's easier to keep it in warrior 2, right? For warrior 1, it's a little more challenging. Not always, just sometimes. So your hips look great. They're squared to the front of the room. And basically, when you're in this warrior 1 shape, you will really press down through the outer edge of the back foot. So this is your power here. This is your connection to the earth in this pose. By pressing down through the heel is where you're going to get your stability. And then you want to think of this thigh spinning in. Yeah, spinning in, because that helps send this hip forward for him. Do you feel that, Murray?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at the front leg. We want to think bend in the knee. And then again, you're not doing this, but a lot of people's knees are dipping in, right? So they're like, no. Knee tracking over the toe. Hands on hips. And now hug, slurp the abdominal muscles in. Good. Knit the ribs in. And now bring the arms overhead. Beautiful. And now if you bring your arms way up, right? Shoulders, tension, bad, we don't want that. So he's just gonna keep those cactus arms and then soften here even more. Soften, 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 soften. Yeah. And now breathe in and out through the nose. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the mouth. And now breathe in and out through the m Trying to keep the inhales and exhales equal length. Beautiful. And to come out of it, you'll take your hands back to your hips and you'll just gently step that back foot back up to the front. Best you can. And now he's back in Tadasana, right? Mountain pose. Because we were looking just at Warrior One, I kind of had him navigate into this. But the safest way to get in and out of Warrior One is to just step one foot back from Tadasana, right? From neutral. So how did that feel? And did it feel easier or harder than Warrior Two as a brand new beginner and also as a man?
So the squaring the hips was no problem at all. The back of my leg and my heel, when they were turned and I was really pushing forward, I felt a lot of tension there. So that was hard. And then the more I was staying there, the front of this leg, I could really feel that muscle starting to burn.
And that's what we're turning on and working in Warrior One, right? We're really working the quads.
So I could really feel that. But otherwise, it was actually quite comfortable, and certainly compared to Downward Dog, I'm a lot happier as a guy who's inflexible doing that.
Right. Okay. Well, check out the Down Dog tutorial if you guys have missed it, and we will see you in the next video. Make sure to leave any comments if you have comments or questions about any of the poses we've looked at, or especially about Warrior One, because it's tricky, down in the comment section below, and we'll see you in the next lesson.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like this video, you are going to love my free Pure Beginner Master the Basics yoga class. Not only do I cover the top 10 yoga poses you're most likely to encounter as a beginner, but I give you a downloadable cheat sheet showing you exactly how to do each of these moves so you know you're doing them correctly. Let's banish the fear and confusion of doing it wrong. Let's master the basics together. Go to brettlarkin.com/beginner for your free download, and I'll see you on the mat. Namaste.